And good Monday morning, everybody. Welcome. This is LoreForged, the podcast for Ashes of Creation. It's episode A3, and we are your hosts. He's mediocre at best. His name is Sonny Ravencourt.
If the moles digging through my yard have a religion, I am Satan, the all-destroying God. I have single-handedly reduced the mole population around my yard significantly, and I am a terror. I am a terror with scissor traps, let me tell you. I have dialed this down to a science. I used to have a mole guy. I followed him around for about 2 hours and wouldn't stop asking him questions. Now I am the mole guy. I don't hire him anymore.
You're that guy. Whenever a service guy comes over, you just, instead of letting them work, you're like that uncomfortable, like 2 feet behind them. Like you're like almost touching them.
I paid this guy $100, and he came over and set a bunch of traps. And I asked him questions nonstop for at least an hour and a half. And now I know everything I need to know about catching moles. And I have put this to use. I am deadly.
Did he give you your money back just to shut up? let me do my job.
I'm not saying, come on, I'm a personable guy. You know, we just had a chat, follow him around. The dude's proud of his mole traps. What can I say? Like, you know, you're a mole guy if you're waxing and like dremeling your own traps. You're into it, right? You want to talk to somebody about mole stuff.
Did he freeze for you too?
I don't
look at that face.
Is he gone?
I think he's gone.
We're all frozen.
Oh, no, there he is.
Oh, he's back. There he is. He's back now. But now I think he's faking that one. I knew it. You got me on that one, though.
Oh, and Cash is here.
Hi, everybody. Cash is here. We're good. It was touch and go today. Touch and go. I got out of class. I'm in class for a couple weeks. I got out of class and I went around the little turnabout to get on the freeway, and I went, I just went, oh, fudge. But I still made it. So it turns out if you drive on the furthest lane to the right, I think that's where like the cops pull people over. If you just haul ass down that lane, you can skip all the traffic.
If you just,
you mean like on the shoulder?
Oh, is that what it's called? I was wondering why I was higher than everybody else.
You just GTA 5 it.
Your shoulders are higher than the other lanes?
Yeah, like 4 inches. Yeah.
This seems dangerous. How do you get onto it?
I didn't. I followed all the rules of the road. I just got lucky.
You did. You're an excellent public servant.
Oh, gosh, that's awesome. Well, my name's Jim.
I do like the idea, though. I just want to say, like, I do like the idea of Cash driving 8 lanes of traffic, and he's like 9 lanes now. We are going home. I am done with California traffic. We are going 9 lanes, full speed.
Yep.
It is amazing down there to see a motorcycle rip by your doors at 80 miles an hour in stop traffic in between the lanes. That is psychotic. I've never seen that before.
Splitting lanes for motorcycles is legal here, and they will let you know if you don't move over. They will let you know.
You ever open the door when they drive by? Just give them a little.
No, that would be death.
Tap, tap, review.
Seen it happen.
I was going to say that has to happen, right? Like,
oh yeah.
Oh, look, there's something out there. Let me open my door.
Yeah, just like, dead.
That's terrible. I shouldn't laugh.
I mean,
we are laughing.
Exactly how that would play.
Oh.
Probably take your door right off, too, you know. Yeah.
A bicyclist.
That one killed JB.
A bicyclist will take your door off, and they're a little bit more prevalent for hauling butt, because like every single bicyclist down here is freaking trying to train for some race. They're all world champions. So they just haul ass. Especially like where I work down by the coast, where it's beautiful and people want to ride the coast. There's parking like all the way down, and they will just haul ass to beat the band. And then one person who doesn't check their mirror opens the door and blammo! All over.
How'd you end up here, Greg?
Terrible.
Car door. How about you?
Yeah, it's terrible. Anyway.
Oh, man. That's
Is
hilarious.
that a conversation in cyclist hell that's happening there or what?
That's exactly what it is.
We found the giggle monkey tonight.
Oh, it's so funny. I just picture it
You're gonna have to
happening,
take
just,
over.
you know, just like it's like a ragdoll effects of just the body just flying. There he goes.
Just the arms.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Well, folks, this is episode 83. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Push and play. Oh, gosh, we got a show for you. Today we're talking Alpha 2 and then Phase 3 coming soon to a theater near you. Maybe. Dun, dun, dun. All that and more here on the show. So, gentlemen, we had a massive update come across the board for Alpha 2 this week. All kinds of things that we're going to touch on. Number one, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I noticed. My fighter felt a whole lot different with different stats going on. The gear situation's been fixed. Cash, I know you talked about a PvP story that in our Soto the other day, post numbers change. That was a good time.
It was a good time. I did not have the time nor the gumption to like look at the numbers. Like I usually watch the numbers, and I like the yellow ones because usually those are crits, and I like my crits. But I did not look at the numbers. One thing I did do, based on some conversations that we were having in guild chat, and actually he's in here, Tomac's in here. We were talking a bit about the fact that your level 20 gear just may be viable again. And I know they did a bunch of changes. They did some changes to time to kill, and I got to play with it a little bit this weekend. So I very quickly took all my level 10 gear off, all my enchanted level 10 gear off, and I put on my level 20 gear. It's like, man, let's just go out. Let's adventure with this new gear on because I haven't seen it in months. And I did notice the changes. Do you want the PvP story?
Yeah, go ahead, throw it down.
Let's do the PvP story, friends, because it was very satisfying for once. We did some questing down in the tropics, and we were just exploring, enjoying the sights, wishing there were sea shanties in the game, and running around killing as many of the things as we could kill. Turns out we were killing a lot of stuff. We were a little freaked out again when we were reminded that there's like level 35 stuff down there, and we're like, why? But it's killable. So anyway, we're down there, we're doing some exploring, and we ran into we were looking for it, but we ran into a point of interest, one of the pocket dungeons. And we go down to this pocket dungeon, and of course, you know, it's still lawless down there. So we were flagged, and there was 3 guys down there from another guild, and they were all purple to us. So of course, me, you know, nice guy, fat, dumb, and happy. Like, I'm in the middle of typing out a salute because like we just want to check stuff out. So I'm in the middle of typing a salute, and blammo, we get attacked. And these 3 guys just like they're just doing whatever they were doing, like turned around and saw us, and they're just like, let's kill him. Okay. So here they
Hello, fellow adventure.
yeah. Punch in the face immediately. And so it was on. And I was like, okay, well, I guess here we go. So of course, like a ranger, you know, I run like 30 yards doing flips and stuff to get out of the way and get some range. And we engage these guys back. And one of the first things I noticed was time to kill. The time to kill has definitely had some tweaks, and it felt very good. Mainly because I didn't die right away. I got rooted right away, but I didn't die right away. And I did my escape and was able to viably fight back. And
say a little bit more about what you think they did to the time to kill to make that feel better. Like, you just did you feel like the hits were weaker, or did you feel like you had more health, or how do you think it felt?
Okay, so herein lies the issue, because I don't know if that was the first scrum that I had gotten into since I put my level 20 gear back on. I immediately noticed that the stats were better on my level 20 gear. So I don't know if it was the fact that my gear was better or the time to kill was better, or I'm just getting better at PvP, which is probably not option 3. It was probably option 1 or 2, or a combination of the two. But what I did immediately notice is that I was viably able to fight back without being melted immediately. And I was also, I mean, we killed him. We killed him once, and then we killed them again by chance, because we were like, let's just keep exploring. So we took off, went to go explore. Well, as we're on the ship in the water again, they were coming back from their deaths, and they jumped us on the ship. So we're like, okay, I guess we're doing this again. And a couple of them boarded, and then I rooted them on the ship, and then one of them just bailed off the side of the ship. And I was like, oh, you are a fish in a bucket.
Oh, you shot him to death
up there planking him. And I was like, well, he's not going anywhere. So I'm going to take my time, and I'm going to get a couple of snipes off. And I got a couple of snipes off and just watched his health go boop, boop. He was dead. And I was like, okay. So we killed them for a second time. And then
I've made a terrible mistake.
We ended up back in our original location again. And what happened the third time, Jibs?
They showed up with more.
Attacked again.
Killed them again.
With more people this time.
It felt great. And I think the thing that felt great is it felt like we had a chance. Now, I don't know what their gear setup was. I know what our gear setup was, but it immediately, that was, again, the first scrum that I had since these changes have been made, and it felt much more balanced. And the fight felt like it took longer and not too long. It was appropriate amount of time to kill. Now, again, that was one sortie amongst probably many that others are having. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what some of our other fellow content creators have to say about this. But from my first experience with it, I felt like the changes were much more toward a sense of balance than they were before.
Now, see, I feel like a little different on that from a PvE standpoint. So I went and made a rogue, which we're going to talk about rogue changes here soon, but made a level 1 rogue, deleted the old Jibs, made a new Jibs. I wanted to try out the very, level 1 leveling experience. And I felt like time to kill from a PvE standpoint is definitely slowed down. Now, I don't know if it's, if anyone else is feeling that way from a PvE standpoint, but for me, what it was and what it is now, I'm definitely noticing a significant amount of time that it's taking to kill a mob. In my opinion, I don't know that it's right. I think it's close. I think it's very close from a PvE standpoint. But
do you want longer or do you want shorter?
Just a little bit shorter. Like, it just feels. But I will say this though. If they kept it there, like, the one thing that stands out to me is it really brings back like the old school RPG vibes. Like, because you really have to think through your fights. You really have to be tactical about it. I'd be fine if they left it there. I really would. Because it's going to make what will happen is it will innately make the joy of leveling that much, much more of a big deal. Like, oh, I leveled up. I get that new skill. I get, those extra stats, whatever. So yeah. I guess I'm either way on it. I guess I don't think it's too long. Yeah.
From a PvE standpoint, it's hard for me to gauge because the rogue is such a bursty character. Yeah. So when I line it up, now I've got poisons, right? I've got wound poison.
Right.
I've got the stealth. I've got the backstab. I just rocket out of nowhere, out of the smoke and shadows with a full-blown leap into this dude's back and just plunge this thing right out the front of him. And like, it's crazy how much damage it does compared to the way that I was fighting mobs with the mage to start, you know, back in the day. I felt like the mage was kind of dangerous, you know, like I always felt like if I bit off more than I could chew with the number of mobs or with the level of mob or anything like that, I was like, oh my God. And then I was just running for my life. With the rogue, it just feels so strong. And it could be just because I play a rogue differently, right? Like I play a rogue like I would play a rogue. Whereas with the mage, I was just kind of like, oh, there's a mob. And you fire off something at it. And then all of a sudden you're in the fight. Yeah. And so I'm probably a better rogue than I was a mage, which makes the fights go a little bit better. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, like from a PvE standpoint, if it feels slower, because it really doesn't. It feels really fast. But I think most of that is just the massive burst damage of the rogue.
Yeah, it turns out the mage kind of became the meta for quite a while. And when we were getting smoked by a lot of other guilds out in our adventures, their group makeup was mage, and mage. And that became very apparent very quickly that mage is going to be a problem, and it was. But I feel, at least now, I feel like there's some balance being put forth to where, you know, other classes have a chance. And I think with that TTK, the time to kill, being tweaked, it really does give you more of a chance to do some of your offensive abilities and just, you know, not be to a point of diminishing returns, but just be nuked into the ground because you're rooted and you've already burned your escape. It is feeling much better.
Maple Lost in the chat actually has a very good question about this. Shouldn't they be more worried about tuning and time to kill when they release the level cap? It feels like premature tuning that'll be haywire when the new systems and gear gets involved. Is this too early to start tuning this?
Yeah, baby steps, right? And the way I look at it is, like, remember when they got DDoSed? Just bear with me, I have a point. When they got DDoSed and we were going through all those days and not being able to log in and stuff because the DDoS was so bad, they learned from that. It's kind of a similar thing to the way that they are. It seems like at first they were slowly building zones, and now the zones are like bloop, 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 bloop. They're just popping up all over the place. They're finding their process, is what my point is. So I think with a lot of the issues that are in game, it might take a while, might take a minute for it to come to the forefront. You know, a lot of people complaining about the same issue. It comes to the forefront, they address it. And now, since they address it and things are working, they have a process. So yeah, it might be a little bit early to start implementing end game balance. But as levels progress and time progresses, it's going to be easier because they now have a process. And again, balance in video games is something that is insanely difficult to achieve. It is a constant battle of peaks and valleys, and this class is better than this class, and they tweak things a little bit. So you never really have like this straight line plateau when it comes to balance. You just, when it's good, when balance is good, you'll have a wave. That's kind of how it looks on the time-space continuum.
Mm-hmm.
What is that in Loki?
I don't know.
They call it the continuum? I can't remember.
It sounded good.
It did. It sounded completely professional. That's the secret weapon. Speak confidently, regardless of whether or not you know what you're talking about.
Whether you're right or wrong.
I really don't know shit, to be honest with you.
No, I think you're right, JB. I think that's one of those things where anytime something like this happens and people say like, well, shouldn't they be working on this and shouldn't they be working on that? I'm always reminded that like there's a lot of people working on a lot of things at the same time, and you never know what it is. And then one day Naval comes out and you're like, I didn't know there was people working on
Dude.
this. Like,
And it was so
just
funny.
out of the blue, right?
Yeah.
Like,
It was so funny because the week before, Cash was just saying like how it would be fine if it didn't come out till an expansion, and then boom, and I was on board. Like I was like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. Didn't really think that they were really developing that on the back end. And then all of a sudden, oh hey, by the way, on PTR this week we're gonna be testing Naval. I'm sorry, what? And then 3 days later, hey, it's on Alpha 2. Oh, awesome. All right, cool.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where balance and stuff like that. I agree with Cash that their ability to modify that kind of stuff it's not so much important that they get it right. It's that they have a few runs at trying to tinker with it in these testing phases, right? Like, what happens if we do this? You don't want to find out what happens if we do this when you're like right on the doorstep of launch.
Right.
Because honestly, tweaking and balance is, like Cash said, it's the holy grail of MMOs. It's just the constant search. You're probably never going to find it. And it will happen before, during, and after the game, right? Like it's all encompassing. And so why not, try to tinker with it a little bit? I'm not saying like shut down development of nodes and sieges and professions. I'm saying that there probably should be some people that are trying to balance things while it goes on.
Now, granted, I already have an answer to this question I'm about to ask you guys, but, and I think your heads will probably be in the same spot. What do you think the number one thing that hasn't been released in the game yet is going to be the biggest factor for balance?
Oh,
The summoner.
Wider. Think broader.
Node sieges.
Think all classes.
augments.
Oh,
freaking augments, dude. Once they start putting augments into this game, the balance is going to be like this, right? Space-time continuum balance, and then it's going to go boop, boop, peaks and valleys. Yeah, we will
nuclear-sized balance bomb going off.
We will constantly be dealing with, oh my god, this is the freaking meta class, this is the one, this is the best combination of classes and the augments that you need. Then the builds come out,
oh god,
and then a month later they balance stuff, and those builds are going to be, they're going to be poop. Sometimes it's a good, sometimes it's shit. That's the way it's going to work.
See, like that's why you should play what you want. Like, look, you're talking balance. Here we are, 21 years later into World of Warcraft, and there's balances and ebb and flow. Like you're saying, it's so true. They're still figuring it out over there too. So when it comes to Ashes, yeah, like you should just play what you want to play and build how you want to build it for your gameplay style. Your power of your class is always going to be one patch away. Look at it that way. It's always going to be one patch away from change. So just forget it. Just play what you want.
And that's the crazy thing about Ashes of Creation, right? Like the time that it takes you to level a character and to go through this stuff and to get the things you need, at least for normal people. I don't know how these, lunatics manage to do it in a weekend, but like for normal people, it takes quite a while. And so if you're going to just abandon all logic and go for the flavor of the month, like your life is going to be miserable.
Oh, it's hell.
Just play what you want.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be awesome. If you
until
have the
they
time,
change it.
Yeah, until they change it, but at least then, you'll have a class that's relatively leveled up. I mean, that has been my life in World of Warcraft since 2004.
Just chasing the meta?
Chasing the meta, flavor of the month. I always end up back on Hunter because that's just my class. But I've tried every single class in the game. Probably, I would say most specs in the game. I've tried them and have probably leveled a character to max because, it's you want to try different things. It's like you think the grass is greener on the other side, or you PvP something, you just get smoked by a monk, and you're like, that looks cool. I think I'll take 3 weeks and level them up.
So true. Oh my gosh.
Well, yeah, but
totally
think
true.
of all the leveling advantages that Warcraft built in. Like to allow you to do that and to almost incentivize you to do that. Right? Like you could bump characters right to 70.
Oh yeah.
You know? I don't even know what the level cap is now, but like I know they brought it back down, but you know, they designed that to be able to do that kind of stuff. Like we're not there with this game. There's no reason for them to do something like that with a game that's this new, right? Like you do that in Warcraft to be able to play with your friends. But man, I don't know, like flavor of the month, like you and I could not be more different MMO players because I do not do that at all. It is like an act of Congress to get me to change a spec, let alone a class.
See, but you're smart though. I chase butterflies and squirrels.
You are an idiot.
You're doing it wrong.
Gosh, yeah.
We have a lot of characters though, and you do know a lot about a lot of other characters. When I'm like, I don't understand monks at all. You know, I've maybe played one for like 5 levels or something like that.
That's true. There's something to be said about that.
And Jibs can probably expand on this, but Jibs, what is the benefit in PvP of playing all the classes?
Oh, then you know the classes. You understand them. You understand how they work.
Yeah, when they throw poop at you.
Yeah.
You understand what they're doing when they're winding up with said poop.
Right.
And you can get out of the way.
Right.
So it is a plus, but it is a huge time sink. Also.
It is. And it honestly too, like I mean, like I'm not shied away. In fact, Dev, who should not be named, Planendorf, made fun of me the other day for being an alcoholic, and I laughed because I'm like, oh, I know where you heard that from. It wasn't from me. It wasn't from Sonny. It was from Cash.
What did I do? Excuse me. Sorry, I blacked out for a second.
Oh, no, nothing. You're perfect.
You
did
outed him. That's what you did.
Yeah, that's exactly what you did. So anyway, yeah, no, it is fun though. And honestly, it does give you a tactical leverage, you know, whenever we're in PvP, and it's so easy because I used to main a paladin. And again, that was a flavor of the month during Shadowlands and World of Warcraft. And I specifically played it. That was the one time I can honestly ever say I picked a class to play with a certain spec because it was overtuned and I just thought it sounded fun. And it was stupid fun for that one patch. But
I remember that because I played the same class right alongside you. And like, I'm not a paladin dude.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. And, but out of that, you know, you learn tactics and stuff. So, you know, is there worth in doing that for Ashes of Creation? Absolutely. From a combat standpoint, you know, really getting an understanding if you want to learn all the little intricacies. But overall, man, play what you want. Play what you love. It's too much to invest in this game otherwise, you know what I mean?
Man, you talk about classes that just do not resonate. Like we've been talking a lot about like the hunter and the rogue and things like that because I love playing the rogue, and Cash loves playing the hunter, and JB loves playing the rogue as well. And you know, the summoner is going to be interesting for him. That's definitely a class that he has the possibility of making a main, right?
Yeah.
The paladin is a class that I cannot play. Like I am attracted to the concept of the paladin. I think it's cool. I love like the story. I love all of the stuff with paladins. I tried over God knows how many years with Warcraft to like every now and then I'd make a paladin because I'm like, I want to make a paladin.
Yeah.
Like there are certain classes that your brain just does not functionally like.
Yeah.
And the paladin is at the top of that list for me.
Yeah.
Cannot make it work in my brain. I just can't play a paladin.
You really are a Satanist. You might be.
I guess.
Is there any? Okay,
you know, the best line in that Dungeons and Dragons movie, the one that just came out with Chris Pine, is when the paladin is walking away and he's like, he walks so straight. Oh yeah, he's coming to a rock. What's he gonna do? He'll go left or right? Nope, just right over the top of it. Just so perfect, so perfect.
Very true.
Okay, so so on that note though, so this is kind of fun. Let's play for a minute. Out of all the archetypes for Ashes, so Bard, Cleric, Fighter, Mage, Ranger, Rogue, Summoner, Tank, what are those classes that your brain is just incredibly unattracted to? We're not talking augments, not talking augments, just the base level.
Tank.
Yeah.
The one that the name should be changed.
Yeah.
Tank. Yeah, I can't do it. It sounds super cool to be able to just absorb all the damage and do all the things, but not only, don't get me wrong, I respect my tanks. I love my tanks. I celebrate my tanks. I'm just not a tank guy. That's not my play style. And to see what happens to the poor freaking tanks in Ashes of Creation, they are always the class with the most XP debt. So you want to talk about, like, you can get a group very easily as a tank, right? But you're going to be the slowest leveler in that group for sure, because you're always constantly fighting off XP debt, especially if you're grinding your way to the top. That's what's about to happen to you. But salute, hats off. I love you. Thank your mothers. Tanks are amazing people.
I think Summoner is going to be a very difficult class for me, but the one that I just won't even try is Cleric. I won't do a Cleric. I just won't. I think that the Cleric... So the funny thing about like Paladin is that there isn't a Paladin in this game. There's a fighter and there's a Cleric, and then there's a Cleric fighter, and I guess that's a Paladin. But like... Cleric has just got to be it, right? Summoner will be an interesting one to see whether or not my brain can handle that one. I don't really do well with summoners or warlocks or anything like that, because I always feel like they don't have enough escapability. Like you get the pets all out there, and then the guy comes right at you, and you're like, uh-oh, it's not good. I don't do well with that, but Cleric is just going to be... Ooh, Cleric is going to be rough. I will never even roll a Cleric, let alone play one with any like determination.
Have you ever healed in a game? You ever played a healer?
I mean, no, because I played a priest for a while, but I just went to a shadow priest, right? Like I just enjoyed
Satan.
I enjoyed the Shadow Priest. I thought that was pretty cool. That was a fun sort of thing. And they have a lot of sort of like rogue tendencies, right? But no, not like a straight healer. It either goes well for everyone and everyone's happy, or the second it doesn't go well, it's always your fault. And I'm just like, this is the worst. You know, like this hunter in the back, he has no idea what he's doing. He's got nothing. And yet the group dies because the other guys went right after me and killed me immediately. And this is my fault. Like, really? Come on now.
Yeah.
I don't like healing.
Yeah, I think for me, I've played all the classes, all the available classes in Ashes. And out of all of those, the one I'm probably least likely to play, I'm in agreement with Cash, is Tank. Please change name. Yes. Now, if we were talking like an Immortal Juggernaut from SWTOR, hello, or Prop Paladin, ooh, okay. I mean, like it's just I think the overall, while I appreciate and am a fan of from a distance, like just how they do what they do, it's not for me from like a gameplay standpoint. So yeah, I think definitely Tank.
So this is interesting, JB, because you did, like, I think about SWTOR, and the class that you played was a tank, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a Immortal Juggernaut. The best, in my opinion, the best tank class probably ever, in my opinion. I loved them. They did
they took an absolute beating. So I'm curious what makes you say that it's not for you in Ashes when it was for you in a couple other games, most notably SWTOR.
I think it's just the way the class feels. And honestly, also the other side of it is like I have to be really drawn to the lore behind the archetype, like the flavor of the archetype. So like I loved Immortal Juggernaut because I was Vader. I remember leading up, oh my gosh, I'll never forget the class overview for the Sith Warrior, and you saw him there armored to the teeth with just a single lightsaber, and you were just that guy. And it just felt like that whole persona combined with the class abilities, it just, it was like peanut butter and jelly for me. And I think when it comes to And let me be clear, I'm not hating on the tank at all. I think it's an awesome class, and I really do like the way it's structured out. But it's just not for me from a gameplay standpoint. Like it just doesn't pull me, and like other tanks have, and so therefore I just really don't have much of a desire to play it.
That's probably a good way to put it, and a good caveat to have is that you respect the way that the tank is put together. Like, yeah, I like the way you're put together, but
yeah, girl,
probably should have said that because it maybe sounds like I'm hating on tanks, but I'm definitely not. Definitely.
I took the high road. You gave him a low blow. That's okay.
That's okay. I'm not Satan for this show.
Satan's
in the blue shirt.
That's funny.
Established
2025.
Yeah, I don't know. Tank, I mean, like, it doesn't help that it's named Tank. It just doesn't.
No,
right?
That
like,
needs to go.
Look at JB's answer there and break this down for a second. Loved playing this character Juggernaut because it felt like Vader. It felt like when he walked into the room, they're like, you can try to kill that guy, but you're not gonna. And eventually he's gonna wear you down. And that was Vader, right? And that was this Juggernaut. That was this Sith just beast. And somehow they're not translating this in Ashes of Creation. And I think that this is a problem, right? This is a problem. They've named the thing Tank. Dumb. They need to build a better story around it, because that's really the difference between what you like and what you're going to give a pass on this to.
It is.
The mechanics are probably pretty decent, things like that, but there's not enough lore. There's not enough draw. There's not enough story behind this whole thing to make you feel the way that you felt when you were playing a Juggernaut.
So
and that's a real thing.
I'm sorry. I know I stepped on it. So on that note, do you guys feel that like persona brings like desire to play? Like the persona behind the class is what brings the desire to that class for you guys. Does that make sense? So like,
Cash?
Yeah, Cash, go ahead.
For me, yes. And that is because they made the Ranger feel very good to play. And especially with the latest changes, I really like the latest changes. I'm not like super used to them in my rotation yet, but that I got plenty of time for that. That will come. I love what Jib said about having some kind of a hook. And for us, it's probably going to be more like on the lore side of a hook for us when it comes to really falling in love with your character. There's playing a character, and there's just absolutely loving your character because you were able to build the archetype that you love into the feel that you want. Not just the feel of the gameplay, the look, your aesthetic, if you role play the way you role play that character. And I think that is a bigger factor for a lot of people than I think they realize. Being able to get into not just your character, but everything that surrounds your character. When you have an established IP like Star Wars, it's very easy to drop names of your favorite character in relation to the avatar that you're playing in a game based on Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit harder for Ashes to do because they haven't established their intellectual property yet, which I have no problem that they're going to do that. I have no doubts that they're going to do that with the story that they're going to tell. But until that takes place, it gets a lot harder to play an archetype without thinking about other archetypes from other IPs that you know and love, right? So for me, there's no example of just a kick-ass Ranger from Ashes of Creation besides Flanker. If you want to make Flanker a character, I will base my entire character off of Flanker. I'm a fan. Like, the dude's legit. And is there no one else? So are you. But what I'm trying to say is, when I'm living out the fantasy of my Ranger for right now, it's Aragorn, it's Legolas, right? It's characters from D&D like Drizzt and some of the other really cool rangy type characters. I want Ashes to have some pretty kick-ass characters that we can base a lot of those things on, just like Jibs based his Juggernaut off of Vader in SWTOR. There's a lot more to it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's part of me that really agrees with you, but I'm just trying to like wrap my brain around like why I liked my smuggler scoundrel so much. It wasn't necessarily because it was Han Solo. I mean, my person was truly like a gunslinging lady. She had the duster. She had like a blue duster on and everything, and just the way that characters were built and the backstory that you got with it as you brought the character up. You were making decisions along the way that BioWare is just famous for, right? BioWare builds these stories. I know that this is an influence for Ashes of Creation. I mean, they come out and they say, we're influenced by this, we're influenced by that. They've played these games. Like, they know what's out there. They know how these things get built.
Right.
The difference is that you have, I agree with Cash that it's an established IP and how that changes when you don't have an established IP, but you also they have made conscious decisions to go into the classic stereotypes of games. And so you are going to have, and books and role-playing games, like you have your rogue, you have your summoner, you have, let's put tank aside, you have cleric, right? you have your ranger, right? Those are tried and true concepts. And so I don't necessarily know if I need somebody in Ashes to do that. I think that they just need to lean in a little bit more into some character specific lore. And I'm going to send this to JB and I'm going to ask him this exact question here. For me, I would want to see the way that SWTOR did it, the way that a lot of games have done it, that breakdown where you maybe have some things that are just for your class specifically to build that kind of backstory, to let you make decisions like that. And so, JB, let me ask you the question, like, how does Ashes pull off this beloved connection between me and my class in some of these other games, with Cash and his class and you and your class in some of these other games? How does Ashes manage to make this connection when they don't have, an established IP and they are going with classic stereotypical roles?
So I'm going to answer that, but I want to go back real quick to when you said you were talking about your smuggler. I can tell you why you connected with that smuggler, because it is you. You're like a one-off person, like a one-off character. You're the gambler. You're like the person that's right. You're living on the edge, and really you make your own calls. You make your own luck. That's you.
Satan.
It's
Come on now.
Mole Killer.
But if you were going to meet Satan, you'd meet him at a table, right? You'd meet him with cards in your hand. So I'm okay with this. Oh my gosh.
Oh, but that is so you. So I think it transcends just, the possibly persona, but also your personal persona that goes into that as well. Like the things that make your personality you. And how does Ashes pull this off? Well, we know in a lot of ways, I feel like Ashes of Creation is a love letter to vintage role-playing games, vintage tabletop games, Dungeons and Dragons. I think of other games like Path of Exile. What's the other system that people, Pathfinder? Like for tabletop stuff. Like, this is really kind of like that love letter to me, to the late 90s, early 2000s era of like role-playing games and video games. So for me, it comes down to, like, how do they pull this off? Well, that's a great question. I think it comes back to giving people a reason to get connected to their characters. Number one, that starts with the name. No one wants to play a P-Fit, what was it, a Sherman? No one wants to play a Sherman for their class. No one wants to play a tank. No one wants that. They want a persona behind it. They want dang, Steven, I love you, but dang it, no one wants to be a Sherman in this game. No one. They want to have persona behind it. And I say that in jest. I love you, Steven. But give them something from go look at classic fantasy movies. Go look at Lord of the Rings. Go look at, just pull a fantasy movie out of your hat. Look what was D&D like from a tabletop standpoint. Steven knows this stuff. He's the DM of his campaign, has been for a long time, and this was how Ashes was birthed out of his campaign. So, I just think that there's a great opportunity to really pull on previous geekdom, previous things that we've all loved. And on top of that, what you do on the secondary note is you make that gameplay reminiscent of that thing. When I was playing the immortal spec for that Juggernaut, I felt like I was Vader. I know I just said that, but I'm going to go back to it again. Because of the way the class played. When he swung that saber, you felt like you were Anakin in episode 3, just swinging with power. Just all of a sudden, it's just like, so it goes hand in hand. The name along with the archetype, the idea behind it, like what it represents. It just, Cash, what do you think? Like, I feel like it goes hand in hand for me.
I think what I'm hearing is, I think that there's a couple ways to look at this. One way is, we have a message here from Wizzy in chat. And she says, my favorite character was my Ultima Online character because I built her to be me, basically. Sneaky, trolling, agent of chaos. And that is possibly what drew me to Ashes. So that the point that I have to make there, which I think is a fantastic point, is if you're an imaginative person, if you're a role player, if you like to get into your characters in this way, a lot of people have the ability to do what Wizzy did, right? And create your own persona. You don't necessarily need icons from the game that's building its IP. You can do that on your own. But I don't think that's everybody. I think that's probably a very small subsection. Some of the role players that are out there have the ability to do that, write a backstory for their own character. They don't need any other outside influence. They already have it in their head. What I would like to see, I still would like to see some pretty kick-ass stories. Like in Intrepid, tell me a story. Mm-hmm. I want to see iconic characters in the game. And no, they don't have to be Jaina Proudmoore. They don't have to be Anduin. They don't have to be, all like super iconic to where they drive everything. But when I go to the tropics, it would be incredibly freaking cool to find out about a legend down there who's a Nakua that happened to be like the most powerful Nakua mage down there. And he did something in Vera that was incredible, and it was iconic, and it was a story worth telling. Do you remember there's been several games that have done this in the past, and I think probably the game that does it the best is probably League of Legends. How they tell the stories of their heroes.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Now, granted, you don't get to roll your own character in League of Legends. You pick a hero to play, right? But if you've ever gone to their website and you look at the way that they tell the stories of their heroes, it is incredible. And they accompany them with just visual candy. Mm-hmm. For to build up some of their new characters. I would love to see something like that from Ashes as we get closer to launch, where say there's some iconic people within the world who are these archetypes. You have this legendary ranger. Maybe there's a way for you to follow his path in the game. Maybe there's a quest line that follows this character in the game. But this ranger did something so special in the world of Vera that it makes everybody just go, I love that guy's aesthetic. I love what he did. I want to base my character off of him. Now Intrepid is not only telling us a story about the history of Vera, but they're identifying individual archetypes that people can base their characters off of. Now they're building an IP with story. And I think that like for a single game before all the books and all the other stuff comes out, which we know it's going to, if you're just building an IP off of a game, that is going to be a huge hook for your PvE players, and maybe even your PvP players might go, that was a pretty damn cool video, or that was a really cool way to tell that story. And it starts to put some context behind these archetypes. That's how I think Ashes does it.
So there's a couple excellent comments here in the chat. Just right on your point right there. Della Luna says, we need more stories from before the Exodus, and that way we can have the heroes, but they don't drive the current story. I mean, it's an excellent point, right? Like we're 2 or 3 months in from coming in from the portal, right? The portal opens, there's like a few people that come through, and then a couple months later it's us. So having like legendary figures is sort of tough because it's only been a few months, right? Like they're still cooking. You a month, yeah, they're still cooking. They're you a month ago. It's like, oh, how was your freshman year? Good, great. I'm a freshman. You're at home. But if it's before the Exodus, then you can have that kind of stuff. Or like maybe these people like never left, right? Like maybe they died like 100 years ago or something like that. And they were just there. And that says nothing of the Tolnar, right? There's always the possibility of that. Tomac had another very good point, and he said, perhaps the class name after augments is supposed to be more meaningful than the archetype name, and we just have not experienced this yet.
Oh.
This is a very good point, right? Because this is your big chart with all these cool names and all of this stuff. That definitely is a possibility, because then you don't have tank anymore. Then you have juggernaut and like things like that, right? Stalwart and vanguard and whatever they want to name it. Then you start to get it a little bit better. One of the things that I think I'm not feeling in Ashes right now that maybe they need to do is, I'm hearing all the time about the impact in the world that you have in Ashes of Creation. Impact. PvP changes the world. You're going to knock nodes down. You're going to rebuild it. PvE is shaping it all, doing all this stuff. But I don't feel like I know my characters very well. You know, I feel like my character is just a class and it's just a dude out there. I don't feel like my person has a lot of story to them that's being helped along with decisions that I'm making in the game. That is something that other games have done very well, where they stop you. Maybe they do a cutscene, maybe they do some story thing. Maybe you make a tough decision. Do I save the village? Do I destroy the village? Do I save the person? Do I kill the person? It's stuff like that. You have a companion in SWTOR, right? Like you make decisions all the time with your companions that have long-reaching effects on how that relationship goes. I get that it's a different game, but like I don't feel that attached to my character in Ashes the way that I've been attached to it in Warcraft, in a lot of other games. I feel like they need to put a little bit more in that quest making to have my character make smaller scale decisions that are more meaningful for them in order to impact the larger world. That would be what I would want.
So that would be like, I'm tracking what you're saying, and I partially agree, but there's a part of me that disagrees a little bit, because like you're throwing out like SWTOR, which is in a league all of its own. Like we have to at least agree on that the way that the questing and the story was told in SWTOR will probably never be told in MMO ever again.
Sure.
I mean, everything
certainly not in this one.
Had video context. Everything was voice acted. It was like BioWare, that's what BioWare does, right? They make incredibly good storytelling games. It started with single player games and it morphed into this MMO, which SWTOR is. So I just don't think that any other MMO is gonna land there again. And then you mentioned Warcraft, where yeah, it tells a bit of a story and it ties your character into the story, especially with cutscenes and stuff where you see your exact character with your exact transmog, like going through some, story arc with all the main characters in the game. But at the same time, like Warcraft is another one of those games that like takes you. Jibs and I, we chat about this all the time. Where say we roll a new character. Well, our character really hasn't done jack crap yet, other than level and go through a few dungeons. But all of a sudden, you are the chosen one who is freaking saving all of Azeroth from everything that's terrible and unholy in the world.
Right.
And they're just like, in all your adventures, you have done, you are certainly the one that we choose. And it's like, you got the wrong dude. You know what I mean? Like this, so kind of the way it's gotten washed out, the way they tell that story.
Yeah.
So I guess my point is, I don't know that I see what you want. I see how you want them to tell the story with involving your character a little bit more. But I think those two games are maybe a little bit unfair at this point to compare to.
I understand what you're saying. And especially with SWTOR, right? But I'm going to say, like, let me give you two examples of a way that I think that this could be improved. One would be class-specific questline. Okay? Class-specific questline will get me there because I will start to do things and I will go off the beaten path from everyone's doing the same thing with the Graham. Everyone's helping this farmer out. Everyone's doing this thing. What do I care? I'm a rogue. You're a fighter. You're a mage. Who cares? We're all here. We all run into the same farmer. Okay. Even though it's a good quest and everything like that, class specific quest line is going to get me there. There is a lot that can be done with that. Right.
Yeah.
And then it's also an incentive for you to feel like you are playing the right class. You ever get into a class specific quest line and you're like, I don't care about any of this. like this is, who cares? This is not me. Right. Like it just feels wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And that is one of those things that helps you become more attracted to your character. So it doesn't have to be SWTOR level, but a class specific quest line will do that. And then the other thing is smaller scale decision making, right? Like not saving Azeroth. Maybe just making a decision on whether or not an NPC in a certain farmhouse lives or dies. Okay? Like an NPC, and then maybe that NPC doesn't exist on your computer ever again, right? Like maybe the way that you see that, like little Timmy really did die in that well.
Permadeath for Timmy.
Little Timmy ain't never getting out of there because you took the money, right?
Oh.
Like stuff like that, like smaller scale decision making on things like that to shape your little world around you. So those two things, those are achievable by Ashes of Creation, and they would make me feel more like I'm attached to my specific character. But the class quest line, I think would be a big deal. JB, what do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's a shoo-in to get yourself connected to your character, because honestly, a lot of times what you see with those class quest chains is you really learn the backstory of your class. You learn about like we talked about earlier, previous heroes, quote unquote, that were famous within that archetype, which again would play into, I don't know who said it earlier. Was it De La Luna before the Exodus? Yeah. Like that you could really pull in previous things that really would not affect the current state, when you're there. It just pulls you in. And I don't care if you're a PvPer, PvEer, role player, whatever it is, everybody loves a good story. Why do people love watching Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or Dune or, whatever it is? If it's sunny, it's something about Satan, apparently. Like everyone has their thing. So
he did redeem himself though a little bit with that class quests.
He did. That's true. It's true. He's coming back.
That's how he
I can see.
He's
I can see the light in you.
But just overall though, like that, absolutely, you should absolutely have that thing, and everyone loves a good story. 100%. I'm all in on that.
Jibs, you remember back to again, like you guys were bringing up Warcraft a lot because we've played so damn much of it. But the rogue quest or the warlock quest
Oh my gosh.
in World of Warcraft. You want to talk about like, and I think specifically, and this is not even a hunter quest line, guys. This is rogue in Warcraft, and the story that you go through is like a full-blown SI7, which is kind of like their CIA slash secretive organization on the Alliance side. And you go through this quest line where you're basically doing like it's a murder investigation, but there's a lot of stealthing around, and like it feels, that quest line for the rogue feels insanely rogue.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay. And I'm just, my last point, you could even extend it to not like, class quests are amazing for getting you into the feel of your class, your main archetype, right? But another one that we could do, as if I work at Intrepid, I don't. Another idea for something like that to just give you more of a feel of the game would be race-specific race-specific quests, like doing like heritage type quests or rite of passage type quests, to where like you're a Nakua. You need to do some very Nakua things before we send you out into the world to do your thing, and you have our blessing as a Nakua. I think of so many different things. Like, maybe if you're Valoon, you got to go, you got to survive, a certain amount of time in the desert. I think there's so many really cool ideas to draw people back into their characters, that it's something that they could really, really run with and grab a huge part of the audience that's probably scared to death right now because of PvP.
I mean, it's true though, right? Like if the game right now is telling the story of PvP, and that's what it is, right? That's what the story is of Ashes of Creation right now, from the people that are playing it, is that this is a PvP game so far. If they want to get that kind of stuff out, it's just the level of creativity of the developers. We know that they have people in Intrepid that are doing lore. We've seen it. We know that they can write. We know that they can come up with good stories. So just like, how far will they let those guys run with this kind of stuff? Because just off the top of our heads here, in an hour, we've come up with some pretty good ideas, and it's just going to get wilder and wilder. What if you were a Nakua? Sure, you all start at the portal and everything like that, but then you go into a certain area with your other friends who maybe aren't Nakua, and it's like a Nakua tribal village, and you can do something, but they can't. Right? You can gain access to like a storyline or a quest line or something like that because you're a Nakua, and they want, they want to talk to you, and they need, you to be the person that helps their village or something like that. Or maybe you have a rite of passage, but the other people can't, right? Like those are the kind of things where it's like, well, I rolled a Nakua, and man, it is cool. It is cool to be a Nakua in this game because you get to do this and this and this. And that is a awesome storyline.
Oh yeah.
That kind of stuff. The Valoon thing, walking through the like time out in the desert, like what do they call it? Like a spirit journey or something like that.
Yeah.
Like that could be wild. There's so much stuff. It's just limited by the creativity of the people. But the underlying point is that good MMOs for us, for the three of us, have always tied our characters to our personalities. We feel like we are those people. Like Cash is a ranger. Look at the background in his place. There is a quiver hanging right behind him, right?
Dude, if I tried to do half the shit my ranger does, I'd fold both my ankles over. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. I'm not in the business of doing backflips either, but like my personality, like JB said, it's like a rogue, like, right? Like I want to be able to do all of that stuff. That is what I want to do. And JB with the tank, like, even though this game hasn't really provided that for him, maybe it's Summon or something like that. Like when it happens, it is that connection. It is that kind of thing. And so there has to be a focus a little bit in moving there. I don't just want to be a rogue that happens to also have taken part in this node siege, right? I don't want my class to be irrelevant in the larger picture of things. I want to have some personal time with my character, you know, and understanding and me getting attached to that. And I don't think that exists right now. I don't feel terribly attached to my individual character.
Yeah, you know, I know that passives are not really going to be, I don't believe racial passives are not going to be a thing. However, I would love to, everything you're saying, you know, like your race quest line or your class quest line, to have a passive that's rewarded to you that's tied to doing that. So then it becomes a thing where it's like, hey, did you get your passive yet? Oh no, how do I do that? Well, that takes you through that whole quest line, that gives you that backstory, it gives you that baseline, that foundational understanding that you can then move forward on however you choose to in this like theme box, you know? So yeah, I agree with everything you're saying.
That's a really interesting idea, because then it does provide the people the incentive to go do these kind of things. And it can be, like I said, on the grand scale of getting a passive that would otherwise not be granted to you, right? Where it's like a big deal where most players are going to want to do this, all the way down to the smaller scale, right?
Yeah.
That small scale impact is still very important to me.
Right.
That conversation in SWTOR between you and one of your companions, where you had to make like a tough decision, like this person left their family in order to come be on your ship to make this money. And, you know, is this something that you appreciate, or are you going to kind of criticize them for it? Or what are you going to do in that conversation? Those decision-making points are the difference between MMORPG players and first-person shooter players.
Yeah.
MMORPG players want to make those tough decisions when it comes to situations they're put in. That's what we love.
Right.
That's what we live for.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, how cool would it be for a Valoon? You know, Cash was talking to you both were talking about the desert. You know, like you do your class quests or whatever, and you're rewarded your racial passive or something. I don't know, but something that's desert related, you know? So when you're in the desert, this thing is available to you, kind of thing. That's only exclusive to that race. That's tied to whatever that quest chain is, but gets you in there and really gets you connected. I think if there's anything that we walked away from today, which by the way, we didn't even get through the rest of the show, and we're not gonna.
We flew off the rails today.
It was, I don't even know how we could get it back on the rails. We're so far off. But yeah, if there was anything, you know, like this really spoke to today, it was about like connection to your character, connection to the world, and the importance of archetype naming. Oddly enough, I never thought we were going there today.
I'm looking at the show notes, like I don't even know how we got here.
I think it was off a comment. We didn't even talk road changes. I mean, like, that's a whole nother.
Oh, by the way, phase 3 is probably coming.
Yeah. Woo, woo.
Enjoy that. Woo! We'll get to it next week.
Yeah, we'll hit it back next week. Folks, let us know what your thoughts are on this episode. We really want to hear what you have to say, whether it's in the comments section on our RSS feed. A lot of you, in fact, most of our audience is on Spotify. So, you know, if you're over there, you can actually comment on our episodes. We'll see what your comments are. And of course, on YouTube, you can always leave us your comments there. We just want to hear what do you guys think? How do you tie yourself to your archetype with also your personality, the things you're invested in, like fantasy wise? Like, where's your head at? Let us know in the comments below. Friends, if you enjoyed this episode, take a couple minutes, please leave your review. It truly helps the show, helps us with the great algorithm gods, and honestly, it tells other gamers if this show is right for them. You can always email us, LoreForgedHQ@gmail.com. Sonny.
I think most of our audience is on YouTube, honestly.
Oh, no, it is.
YouTube.com. Yeah, it's the world is on YouTube. That's how it works. YouTube.com/@LoreForged is where you can find us on YouTube, but honestly, just type LoreForged into the search bar and you'll find us there too. Twitch.tv/LoreForgedHQ. We're streaming, we're playing, we do this show live, and I've been playing some Rogue on the Twitch stream. That has been a lot of fun. It's always a good time to have people on there because they're so much better at this game than I am. and they're teaching me things as it happens. But like, it is interesting to like talk through some of the stuff on the Twitch stream. You know, when you're trying to do something, you're like, I don't understand why this doesn't work this way. And somebody will say, well, it's designed to do this. And you're like, okay. You know, maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, but it always gets to be a good conversation on whether or not that's a good idea. And finally, Patreon. Get all of your stuff for LoreForged early if you are a member of the Patreon, including, I just did a sunny side up this morning on wipe or no wipe. And that is available for the patrons. Cash finished his book, and it is available for everyone at the barback level, but it is also available to anybody that does not wish to join the Patreon. You can go and simply buy it on our Patreon store. But frankly, the cost of the book, if you just subscribe to the barback level for 1 month, you'd get the book, and then you're good. They're right there. So, Cash?
Yeah, I've been getting some DMs about when the book will be available. By the way, the book is The Adventurer's Guide to Health and Fitness. If you're interested in that kind of thing, it is completely geared towards gamers. I'm talking directly to you about improving your life in many, many ways. The two biggest ones being in diet and fitness. Anyway, I've been getting a lot of DMs from people who are asking when the physical copies of the book are going to be available, and you'll be happy to know that I am working through the Amazon process right now to get it up on Amazon, and I should have the first actual copy within a couple days. So I'll be going through it, and as long as like all the formatting and everything is correct, then I will be I'll be putting it up. So it'll be available on Amazon for you to give it 1-star reviews and truly piss me off, but that'll be fun. Friends, you can follow us on X at LoreForged HQ. You can follow us on Instagram at LoreForged HQ. And if you're interested in joining our guild, the Black Talon Trading Company, for the Ashes of Creation testing phases, we are a PVX guild for adults, parents, and working professionals. We are actively recruiting both PvE and PvP players. And we've got some new members this week. We'd like to mention Carnage, Roran, Raladin, Goats, Kumo, Daldrath, and Talik. Welcome to the Black Talon Trading Company.
Goats. I wonder if he plays that goat game. Remember that
Goat
one?
Simulator?
Goat Simulator.
Simulator.
My son loves the heck out of that game. Yeah. Friends, thank you so much for tuning in. We love you. Have a great week in gaming. And we'll see you right here next week on LoreForged. Take care, everybody.
Peace, love, and honeybees.
Safe travels, adventurers.
Bye.